Hey guys, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. This is your host Thomas Tyree from On the Hot Podcast. Today, I have some bonus content for you guys. The bonus content we'll be covering today will be in the sport of football inside the NFL world. In today's bonus segment, I'll be sharing my thoughts on the following NFL schedule that has been released for the 2024-25 NFL regular season. So in this segment, I'll be covering three things. I'll be covering my favorite games heading into this upcoming NFL season, my thoughts on the Thanksgiving matchups, and my thoughts on the Carolina Panthers getting 0 NFL primetime games this upcoming NFL season. So starting off with a few games that I do believe are going to be the most exciting in my opinion this upcoming season. Starting off with week 1, the first game of the season, when we see the reigning defending Super Bowl champions, the Kansas City Chiefs, taking on the Baltimore Ravens in an AFC Championship rematch. If you thought Banner Night was special last year when the Kansas City Chiefs took on the Detroit Lions, this year is even going to be better for the Banner Night for the Chiefs when they play the Baltimore Ravens in an AFC Championship rematch. And I like the matchup between Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson. It's always a fun matchup between the two respective quarterbacks, the best of the best in the National Football League at their respective positions. Both have won several MVP awards in their NFL careers so far. And who could ever forget that classic Week 3 matchup in the 2021 NFL season between the Baltimore Ravens and the Kansas City Chiefs? That classic Sunday night football matchup with the Ravens winning that game 36-35. Now we get to see a new chapter written between Lamar Jackson and Patrick Mahomes when they play each other Week 1 in Kansas City. Should be an absolute banger and a great way to start the 2024-25 regular season in the National Football League. Definitely looking forward to that game. Then another intriguing matchup on the schedule is between the Baltimore Ravens and the Houston Texans when they play each other on Christmas Day. And I do believe that game between the Baltimore Ravens and the Houston Texans could have huge playoff implications on the line when the time comes when those two respective teams play each other late in the NFL season. Because you could have both of those teams out in the AFC battling for the number 1 seed, and both of those teams are going to be elite teams in the AFC conference next year, possibly being the favorites to win their divisions this year, the Ravens and the Texans. So I do believe they could be jockeying for position to possibly grab the number 1 seed for the postseason when these two respective teams play each other Christmas Day. And I do believe, hands down, this could be the greatest game in sports on for Christmas Day. I know how special NBA Christmas Day is, and I know how the NFL is starting to take the opportunity to go head-to-head, toe-to-toe with them on Christmas Day. But I'm looking at this matchup between the Ravens and Texans. I think that could be the best game on in all of sports this upcoming Christmas in the world of sports, because you get Lamar Jackson versus CJ Stroud, the best of the best at the quarterback position in the AFC conference. Could be an amazing game. Now, this next game is between the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans, that Monday Night Football matchup in Week 11. I do believe that Cowboys and Houston Texans game right now is the most exciting Monday Night Football matchup in the entire 2024-25 regular season, this upcoming NFL season. And I do believe it could be one of the most exciting games of the year. The Battle of Texas, to find out who is the best team in Texas between the Dallas Cowboys and the Houston Texans. You have a lot of storylines heading to that matchup, because you have the buddies of Micah Parsons and CJ Stroud. We see how close they are during the NFL offseason, doing podcasts together, covering the NFL draft together, talking trash with one another, playing in the NBA celebrity game with each other. And we're going to see them go head-to-head, toe-to-toe. We're going to see how CJ Stroud responds to Micah Parsons and the Dallas Cowboys defense. You also get the brotherly matchup of Stephon Diggs and Trayvon Diggs matching up against each other, the wide receiver and cornerback position battle that we wanted to see for a very long time. Fingers crossed that they are both healthy by that time. And then you have Dak Prescott, an MVP candidate from last NFL season, going head-to-head, toe-to-toe against CJ Stroud, who had an amazing rookie season, 2nd overall pick from the 2023 NFL Draft. So that should set up for an exciting matchup in the Battle of Texas between the Cowboys and the Texans in Monday Night Football Week 11. Then the next matchup I have is the Minnesota Vikings taking on the Atlanta Falcons. I like this matchup, and I'm looking forward to that That's December 8th, I do believe, with the Atlanta Falcons traveling to play the Minnesota Vikings. And I'm looking forward to see how Kirk Cousins plays against the Minnesota Vikings in his revenge game heading back to Minnesota, because the storyline is there. Who doesn't like a storyline or a possible revenge game? Because Kirk Cousins was a longtime quarterback with the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings did not re-sign him during NFL free agency. It goes to the Atlanta Falcons, but the Vikings have already drafted his replacement, 10th overall pick in the draft, J.J. McCarthy. Could be ready to play by then, going head-to-head against Kirk Cousins in Minnesota. That could be a highly anticipated game late in the season in the NFC Conference. Then, next matchup I have on my list is the Kansas City Chiefs versus the 49ers, the Super Bowl rematch. Now, the 49ers and the Chiefs, the Super Bowl last year was an absolute cinema. And with the Chiefs winning that game in overtime, that going down as the second overtime game in Super Bowl history. And that game lived up to the hype and lived up to the expectations. And had a lot of fans on the edge of their seats in the second half of that ball game, with the Chiefs winning that game. It's going to be a spicy Super Bowl rematch between the two respective teams when they play each other. And we could see which team or what these two teams are made of at the time they play each other this upcoming NFL season, because they both have a lot of games I have circled down. There's going to be some tough tasks. So we're going to see what these teams look like when they play each other in a Super Bowl rematch. Then I have the Battle of the Birds. You have the Baltimore Ravens taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. That's a late NFL season matchup, with the Eagles playing the Ravens in December, and they'll be traveling to Baltimore in December. On paper, I like this matchup because both teams match up against each other very well offensively and defensively. The quarterback battle of Lamar Jackson and Jalen Hurts. I like the Eagles offense matching up against the Baltimore Ravens defense. I think that is going to be a fun, intriguing matchup later in the later part of the regular season. And then I have two more games circled. You have the Buffalo Bills taking on the Houston Texans. Now, we get the battle of the quarterbacks in the AFC Conference. Josh Allen, one of the greatest quarterbacks in the National Football League right now. And you have C.J. Stroud, the upcoming rising star, like that I just said a few moments ago. And I have it circled because it's a revenge game for Stephon Diggs. I know he feels a certain type of way that the Bills traded him and they did not accomplish their goal while he was in Buffalo, and that's winning a Super Bowl, when they had countless opportunity after opportunity after opportunity, coming up short to the Kansas City Chiefs, not once, not twice, but 3 times over the last 3 to 4 years in the AFC playoffs, basically closing the door on the Bills' chances of winning a Super Bowl. So I'm definitely looking forward to that game. I know C.J. Stroud's going to really get his guy Stephon Diggs fired up for that matchup. And then the last matchup I have circled on my list, the Kansas City Chiefs playing the Cincinnati Bengals Week 2. Whoever put together the schedule for the Kansas City Chiefs, they got them starting off rough. You got to play the Ravens Week 1, then you got to play the Bengals Week 2. And it's going to be a rough back-to-back weeks for the Kansas City Chiefs. But it's always a fun matchup between Patrick Mahomes and Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is actually the only quarterback right now in the National Football League that I can say has Patrick Mahomes' number. I mean, yes, the series is in favor of Joe Burrow, I believe, off the top of my head. Joe Burrow got the best of Patrick Mahomes in the AFC Championship a few years ago. Then Patrick Mahomes returned the favor a year ago when in the AFC Championship rematch. But it seems like Burrow always gets the best of Mahomes. And that's the only guy I know that has a winning record against Patrick Mahomes amongst starting quarterbacks in the National Football League right now. So when they always play each other on the field, it's always a fun, intriguing game. So that's a game I'm going to be looking forward to early on in the NFL season. Now, let's get into my thoughts on the NFL Thanksgiving matchups. So the NFL Thanksgiving matchups, you have the Detroit Lions playing the Chicago Bears. You have the Dallas Cowboys playing against the New York Giants. And then you have the finale, the night game. You have the Green Bay Packers playing the Miami Dolphins. Now, I think the NFL Thanksgiving matchups this year they're okay. They're decent. I thought they could have put a better effort together to putting together a better NFL schedule for Thanksgiving this year, because the Detroit Lions and Bears, That's an okay matchup, but I feel like we could have got something more intriguing. I mean, that could be an intriguing matchup. Don't get me wrong. By the time that's by Thanksgiving time, because you'll have the Detroit Lions and the who are one of the heavyweights in the NFC conference taking on the Chicago Bears, who could be in good shape with Caleb Williams now being the franchise quarterback around that time. So we'll see how that matches up. The Dallas Cowboys and the Giants, I don't like that matchup because the Cowboys always use the Giants or the Commanders as their punching bags, and the NFC East Conference matchups, NFC division matchups, I should say, between the two respective teams. The Cowboys always get the better of the Giants. The NFL always believe it's going to be a good game, but Dak Prescott is a New York Giants killer. He's 12-2 against them in his NFL career, so I feel like that game is going to be a one-sided game. Dolphins versus Packers, it could be very interesting because you have the young quarterbacks of Tua Tagovailoa and Jordan Love matching up against each other. So I don't have a problem with that matchup, but I feel like the Lions and Bears could be decent. Packers and Dolphins could be good. Cowboys and Giants, they should have found the Cowboys a much better opponent for Thanksgiving because I feel like we're going to get them a belt-to-ass treatment on Thanksgiving. But then, let me say this before I close this video out. Thoughts on the Panthers not getting a one primetime game. This is absolutely insane. I feel so bad for the Carolina Panthers fans out there watching and listening because the Panthers are the only team heading into this upcoming season out of all 32 teams that do not have a primetime game. They have 0 night games, no Thursday night matchups, no Sunday night matchups, no Monday night football matchups. Yes, they are advertised to play the New York Giants in an international game, but how hurtful is that the Panthers have 0 primetime games? And off the top of my head, correct me if I'm wrong here, the Panthers for their home tickets this year, what I read on the internet earlier today, you can get the whole Panthers home games have home field tickets for under $1,000 for all their home games this year. That is a slap to the face of the organization. That is a slap to the face to Bryce Young, who was the first overall pick in the 2023 NFL draft. I understand that they were the worst team in the National Football League last year, but come on, at least every team in the league deserves at least one primetime game. Panthers fans out there, I feel you guys' pain. That hits home to me that the NFL doesn't even acknowledge the fact that you deserve at least one primetime game. But those are my thoughts on the NFL schedule release. Those are my thoughts on the Thanksgiving game matchups. And those are my thoughts on the Carolina Panthers getting zero primetime games. But that is all the time I have for you guys today. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. This is your host, Thomas Tyree, signing off. And I'll see you guys on next week's episode.